Verse 1 of 2 Samuel 3. Now there was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. David grew steadily stronger, but the house of Saul grew weaker continually. House of David, it is getting much, much stronger. House of Saul is diminishing and is very soon going to go away. Verse 2, sons were born to David at Hebron. His firstborn was Ammon by Ahinoam the Jezreelitess. They were coming with Hebron all of a sudden again, just like we had with the chapter on Abraham. Now David was married to 6 women that are mentioned here. The first mentioned is Ahinoam, who is from Jezreel, which is in Israel. That's in the area of the Valley of Megiddo, by the way. She had David's first son by the name of Ammon. He had a miserable end. It's described in chapter 13. We'll get to that eventually. Verse 3, and his second, Chileab by Abigail, the widow of Nabal the Carmelite. The third, Absalom, the son of Maacah, the daughter of Talmai, the king of Geshur. Second son named Kilob, and it was by Abigail, who was a widow of a man named Nabal, who was from Carmel. The third son was Absalom, and we'll read about his rebellion and death a little bit later. I guess I remember my father years ago saying one thing he never understood about David, why he was so shook up over the death of Absalom. And that, got a good point. Absalom was not a good son. He was downright a creep. I don't think David whacked his bottom enough when he was little. His mother was Maacah, and she was from Geshur. All these women came from inside the borders of Judah, and it's somewhere in there. Verses 4 and 5. And the fourth, Adonijah, the son of Haggith, and the fifth, Shephatiah, the son of Abital, and the sixth, Ithream by David's wife Eglah. David's wife Eglah. I guess that wasn't the pretty one. These were born to David at Hebron. We're not told about the nationality of the last 3 wives, but I think he married all, probably within the borders of Judah. Now, we're told in Torah, a king can't multiply wives. That's in Deuteronomy 17, starting at verse 15. You shall surely set a king over you whom Yahweh your Elohim chooses. One from among your countrymen you shall set as king over yourselves. You may not put a foreigner over yourselves who is not your countryman. Moreover, he shall not multiply horses for himself, nor shall he cause the people to return to Egypt to multiply horses. Since Yahweh has said to you, you shall never again return that way. Neither shall he multiply wives for himself, lest his heart turn away, nor shall he greatly increase silver and gold for himself. Well, there's several things there. The word for multiply is rabah, and that means to be or become much, many or great. Now, as far as a king goes, it means to have an abundance, but as far as a king goes, did David have too many wives according to the Torah? Yeah. No, an abundance. Exactly. It depends on what you call an abundance. Would you say 1,000 is an abundance? I think most people would say 1,000 is way up there, huh? Well, that's what his son did. 700 wives, 300 concubines. I don't know why he divided, the wives and the concubines. We'll just say 1,000 wives. A concubine is a wife. It's kind of a secondary wife. I don't know. And I would guess, I don't know. I bet he just numbered them. What do you think? Number 367. Your turn for dinner tonight. I don't know.
That might be where number 666
That one 666 came from. Yeah, that could be. Well, we're never told David had too many wives. That was never one of his downfalls. He had a couple of really big downfalls. Okay? That adultery thing, then there was that murder thing. Aside from that, he's a man after Elohim's own heart. So I would say, there's another thing here. It says, he shall not greatly increase silver and gold for himself. Well, What's too much gold? Would a gold coin be too much? Would 10 gold coins be too much? Would 100 gold coins be too much? I don't know. It's hard to say. But in the days of Solomon, we're not supposed to multiply horses. Well, Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, 12,000 horsemen. In 1 Kings 10, verse 28, also Solomon's import of horses was from Egypt. Man, he went out of his way to do everything wrong, didn't he? And here we are in 1 Kings 11, verse 1. King Solomon loved many foreign women, along with the daughter of Pharaoh, Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, and Hittite women. And from the nations concerning which Yahweh had said to the sons of Israel, you shall not associate with them, neither shall they associate with you, for they'll surely turn your heart away after their gods. Solomon held fast to these in love. He had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. His wives turned his heart away. For it came about when Solomon was old, his wives turned his heart away after other gods. And his heart was not wholly devoted to Yahweh as Elohim, as the heart of David, his father, had been. And then Solomon, with his gold collection, the weight of the gold which came to Solomon in 1 year, was 666 talents of gold. Well, that's $1.25 trillion worth. That's a lot of gold in 1 year to get. Besides that, from the traders and the wares of the merchants and all the kings of the Arabs and the governors of the country. See, that's aside from the pocket money the rest of them gave him. So, we read in 2 Chronicles 9:20, and all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold. We wouldn't want them drinking out of silver or just crystal, would we? And all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. Silver was not considered valuable in the days of Solomon. And down to verse 27, and the king made silver as common as stones in Jerusalem. He made cedars as plentiful as sycamore trees that are in the lowland. I don't know, could he have done any more? If you look at that passage again in Deuteronomy 17, neither shall he multiply wives for himself, lest his heart turn away, nor shall he greatly increase silver and gold for himself. This is done by foreign wives. Foreign wives are the problem. Deuteronomy 7, verses 3 and 4. Furthermore, you shall not intermarry with them. You shall not give their daughters to your daughters to their sons, nor shall you take their daughters for your sons, for they'll turn your sons away from following me to serve other gods. Then the anger of Yahweh will be kindled against you, and he will quickly destroy you. This passage right here freaked out Nehemiah. He absolutely freaked out. He was in Babylon as a cupbearer for the king, and he wanted to go back with his people who went back to Israel and went back to Judah. And when he got there, he found out they intermarried with the pagan women around there, and they just married them. And then they had children with them. He freaked out because, that last phrase here, the anger of Yahweh will be kindled against you, and he will quickly destroy you. That did freak him out. So he made all the men divorce their women and cast them out along with their children. Man, that's tough. That's tough. That's not a good answer. We talked about this before. Yeah, that's not a good answer at all. What is a good answer to that dilemma? There's not one. When there's certain things that we do like that, there's no good answer. You got to break a covenant or you get destroyed quickly. So we talked about, I mentioned it a little bit last week, adultery. That's another situation. Once that's committed, what's the answer? Not one. No, those lives are destroyed now. Well, I'll tell you what, the Torah is there for our good. How can we follow this? Okay, we're Torah observant. We love our Heavenly Father and we love His ways. How do we and our children obey this? Do not marry outside your belief. Your future son-in-law, future daughter-in-law need to be hand in hand with your child in following the Torah and in realizing Yeshua as the Messiah. They have to be hand in hand. That's how we follow this. That's the only way it'll work. Well, David's wives, we're never told they turned his heart away from Elohim to follow foreign gods. That's what Solomon's pagan wives did.
Was he destroyed quickly?
He was destroyed, and actually the whole land was divided then. It ended up having a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom right after Solomon died. It led to a lot of problems. But Solomon, the other interesting thing here, the warnings that are in this passage here in Deuteronomy, they're only given one time in Scripture. Only one time. I found that very interesting. I think it's because it's somewhat vague. An abundance. What's an abundance? I remember I worked with a guy who married a woman whose family lived in Chicago, and they owned a Model A restoration shop. The Model A was cool. They gave him one, gave him a Model A. And he says, yeah, I called to pay taxes on this. And they said, how much did you pay for it? He said, $1. Oh, well, you're going to have to pay a gift tax on what a Model A is worth. Well, I bought it for $1. No, you're going to pay tax, a lot more than that in taxes. Well, what if I paid $100? Well, that may be okay. Then you'd probably be okay, but you didn't. You paid $1. He said, well, what if I paid $99? Well, that'd be okay. And he said, well, what about 98? He said, you see where I'm going here? How low could I go before I didn't have to pay taxes? She said, you're paying taxes on it. That was it. It's that line. Where's the line here? We don't know exactly. It's just mentioned once. In abundance. Don't multiply. Don't have an abundance. Well, David didn't. Solomon did. And it doesn't take an extensive amount of wisdom to figure that out. Go back to 2 Samuel 3, verse 6. It came about while there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David that Abner was making himself strong in the house of Saul. Abner was taking advantage of the weak son of Saul in order to gain power. Verse 7, now Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah, the daughter of Ai. And Ishbosheth said to Abner, why have you gone into my father's concubine? Ooh, to have sex with a king's concubine, which is a wife, that's a treasonous act. It's essentially making a claim to the throne is what he's doing. Now, it's not known if Abner really did this, but Ishbosheth is accusing him of it. Verse 8, then Abner was very angry over the words of Ishbosheth and said, am I a dog's head that belongs to Judah? Today I show kindness to the house of Saul your father, to his brothers, to his friends, and have not delivered you into the hands of David, yet you charge me with guilt concerning the woman. So he says, I've done good for everybody. But I didn't turn any of you all over to David. Could have done that. He claims not to be the contemptible dog that he's accused of being. Verses 9 and 10, may Elohim do so to Abner and more also, if, as Yahweh has sworn to David, I do not accomplish this for him, to transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul, to establish the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan even to Beersheba. Ishbosheth was a weak man and a cowardly king. Abner was well aware of this. Verse 11, he could no longer answer Abner a word because he was afraid of him. That is the weakness that we're looking at here. That Ishbosheth was that weak and afraid of this man. Verses 12 and 13, then Abner sent messengers to David in his place, saying, whose is the land? Make your covenant with me, and behold, my hand shall be with you to bring all Israel over to you. And he said, good, I'll make a covenant with you, but I'll demand one thing of you, namely, you shall not see my face unless you first bring Michal, Saul's daughter, when you come to see me. Now Saul had originally given his daughter Michal to David. That's in 1 Samuel 18, verses 20 and 21. Now Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David. When they told Saul, the thing was agreeable to him, and Saul thought, I'll give her to him so that she may become a snare to him, that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Therefore Saul said to David, for a second time you may be my son-in-law today. He later took her away. Now, David didn't divorce him, but he took her away and gave her to somebody else. 1 Samuel 25, starting at verse 42. Then Abigail quickly arose and rode on a donkey with her 5 maidens who attended her. She followed the messengers of David and became his wife. And David had also taken Ahinoam of Jezreel, and they both became his wives. Now Saul had given Michal, his daughter, David's wife, to Palti, the son of Laish, who was from Gallim. I don't know if he could do that, but he did it. Saul was not a good guy. Verse 14. So David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, saying, give me my wife Michal, to whom I was betrothed, for 100 foreskins of the Philistines. And Ishbosheth sent and took her from her husband, from Paltiel, the son of Laish. But her husband went with her, weeping as he went, and followed her as far as Bahurim. Then Abner said to him, go, return. So he returned. Apparently the man she was given to loved her very much. But David, he's demanding his wife back. So this gives more credence to him taking over the throne of Saul. Verse 17, now Abner had consultation with the elders of Israel, saying, in times past you were seeking for David to be king over you. Now then do it, for Yahweh has spoken of David, saying, by the hand of my servant David, I'll save my people Israel from the hand of the Philistines and from the hand of all their enemies. And Abner also spoke in the hearing of Benjamin. In addition, Abner went to speak in the hearing of David in Hebron, all that seemed good to Israel and to the whole house of Benjamin. Abner's going to get vengeance on Ishbosheth, and he's going to turn the kingdom over to David. Verse 20. Then Abner and 20 men with him came to David at Hebron. David made a feast for Abner and the men who were with him, and Abner said to David, let me arise and go and gather all Israel to my master the king, that they may make a covenant with you, and that you may be king over all that your soul desires. So David sent Abner away. He went in peace. And behold, the servants of David and Joab came from a raid and brought much spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away. He had gone in peace. Abner was in David's favor. David makes a feast for him, welcomes him. Abner was sincere in his desire for David to rule over Israel. He knew what Elohim's will was. Verse 23, when Joab and all the army that was with him arrived, they told Joab, saying, Abner the son of Ner came to the king. He sent him away, and he's gone in peace. Then Joab came to the king and said, what have you done? Behold, Abner came to you. Why then have you sent him away, and is he already gone? You know Abner the son of Ner, that he came to deceive you, and to learn of your going out and coming in, and to find out all that you were doing. So Joab was convinced that Abner was intending to deceive David, and he was a spy for Ishbosheth. I'll tell you what, if you say Ishbosheth 3 times, that'd be a good tongue twister. Verses 26 and 27. When Joab came out from David, he sent messengers after Abner, and they brought him back from the well of Sirah, but David did not know it. So when Abner returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the middle of the gate to speak with him privately. There he struck him in the belly so that he died on the account of the blood of Asahel, his brother. So Joab hated Abner because he killed his younger brother in battle previously. So Joab killed Abner the same way Abner killed his brother. In 2 Samuel 2, verse 23, we read, however, he refused to turn aside. Therefore Abner struck him in the belly with the butt end of the spear. Remember that? We talked about that butt end of the spear. Well, he killed his brother that way, so he killed Abner that way. Verses 28 and 29. And afterward, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are innocent before Yahweh forever of the blood of Abner, the son of Ner. May it fall on the head of Joab and on all his father's house, and may there not fail from the house of Joab one who has a discharge, or who is a leper, or who takes hold of a distaff, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks bread. David cursed Joab and his descendants. One who holds a distaff. That's interesting. Anybody have any idea what that means? One who holds a distaff? Okay, it could mean one of two things. One, they're on crutches. The other one is, believe it or not, they're a homosexual. One or the other. I'd rather be on crutches, but that's just me. David didn't consider Joab at all justified in killing Abner. Joab killed Abner in Hebron. The thing about Hebron, we just talked about it with Abraham. The stories aren't related, but Hebron is a city of refuge. If Joab thought that Abner was a murderer, he should have brought him before the judges. But Joab was not justifying in murdering Abner in this way at all. So he is a murderer. Verse 30, so Joab and Abishai, his brother, killed Abner because he had put their brother Asahel to death in the battle at Gibeon. When David said to Joab and to all the people who were with him, tear your clothes and gird on sackcloth and lament before Abner. And King David walked behind the bier. Thus they buried Abner in Hebron. The king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. David had all the people present here for Abner. And David walked behind the coffin as they buried Abner. Verse 33, and the king chanted a lament for Abner and said, should Abner die as a fool dies? Your hands were not bound, nor your feet put in fetters as one falls before the wicked. You have fallen. And all the people wept over him. David says it's only because of treachery that a man as great of a warrior as Abner was dies like a fool. Verse 35, then all the people came to persuade David to eat bread while it was still day. But David vowed, saying, may Elohim do so to me, and more also, if I taste bread or anything else before the sun goes down. And all the people took note of it, and it pleased them, just as everything the king did pleased all the people. So all the people and all Israel understood that day that it had not been the will of the king to put Abner the son of Ner to death. So David's mourning made it evident that David did not want Abner to die, especially in this way. And lastly, 38 and 39, the king said to his servants, do you not know that a prince and a great man has fallen this day in Israel? And I'm weak today, though anointed king, and these men, the sons of Zeruiah, are too difficult for me. May Yahweh repay the evildoer according to his evil. So, like I said, that's kind of a spacer chapter. Both of those are. We'll continue here next week. Any questions on this before we take a break?